Hello, my wonderful friends. Mega's back in the library. The perks of being a wallflower. We are in part 2. Oh my God. Are you guys loving this book? There's so much heart. We have picked the best books. I'm so excited. This is a long chapter that we're about halfway through the book, and we're only 2 days into this. But oh my God, it's just, you feel like you're there. I mean, I feel like I know Charlie so well. And I was thinking, what makes us care, right? Why do we care about someone else's mental struggles and romance and family life and relationships with cousins and uncles and aunts? And why do we even care? And that just got me thinking. It's just the connection we have is being human, that we're really all in this together. And as we're reading about Charlie and his family, we're reading about us, ourselves, and our families. And as he's talking about, like, sitting at the grown-up table at Thanksgiving, right? We can picture ourselves there doing that. We can see the different cousins and the fights and things that we've experienced. And I think it helps us to feel also not so alone. As he's going through this depression, it makes us think, oh, I'm not the only one. Other people have gone through this. Other people feel this. I'm not weird, right? And I think that's what I'm loving so much about this. This is a long one. I'm just going to start reading and look at my underlines and notes, and then of course go to the comments and tell me what you guys are seeing and what I might have missed or what you agree with. This is important, the very first letter of this chapter or part, because it really wraps up at the end of this. It says, "It was one of those days that I didn't mind going to school because the weather was so pretty. The sky was overcast with clouds and the air felt like a warm bath. I don't think I ever felt that clean before. When I got home, I had to mow the lawn for my allowance, and I didn't mind one bit. I just listened to the music and breathed in the day and remembered things. Things like walking around the neighborhood and looking at the houses and the lawns and the colorful trees and having that be enough." This is cute. He says, "I don't know anything about Zen, but one of the girls from the party with a tattoo and belly button ring, she's been a Buddhist since July. She talks about very little else except maybe how expensive cigarettes are. Mary Elizabeth told me that the thing about Zen is that it makes you connected to everything in the world. You are part of the trees and the grass and the dogs, things like that. She even explained how her tattoo symbolized this, but I can't remember how." I thought that was cute. So I guess Zen is a day like this, when you are part of the air and remember things. That's beautiful writing. He goes on to talk about a game I remember playing vividly. Of course, I was born in 1970, so I don't know if this is something in this day and age that goes on, but the game Smear the Queer. We used to play that like every recess, and you get the ball, and whoever has the ball, you run for your life, and everyone's trying to tackle you and smear you. And he goes on, he's talking about Patrick and Brad here because he found out they're homosexual, and he says, "I understand why Patrick didn't get angry at Brad at the homecoming dance for dancing with a girl. Brad doesn't want to be found out. He's not ready to come out of the closet because he doesn't want to get smeared, right? And maybe not even a physical way, but it may be, but also just ostracized, looked different upon." I thought that was kind of a pretty ingenious way of bringing out the emotion of what that feels like and why. It's good writing. This is so deep, guys. Monday in school, Brad kept saying the same thing. "Man, I was so wasted. I don't remember a thing." Uh, the night before was the first time him and Patrick had sex, and he started crying. I thought it was funny that Charlie uh, mentioned that Brad took the girl's role in their sex, and Brad can't handle it. Right? It probably just he can't wrap his mind around it, so he starts to drink and do drugs. Where it's becoming a problem. To even function, he has to stay stoned. That's a terrible, terrible place to be. It ends up getting where he has to go to rehab. And, I was thinking too. I remember seeing that in high school. With not even homosexual relationships, but just girls right there, first time having sex, and they would cry. Right? I wonder if it's the same feelings and emotions. Like, did I do something wrong? Am I a bad person? Do they have to drink to cover it up? Do they have to say, oh, I was so stoned. I don't remember what happened. It wasn't my fault. It was the drugs. It was the alcohol. The drugs and alcohol are bad, not me. Maybe something they're trying to work out. And I mean, it's probably something we all have to work out for ourselves, right? What is morally acceptable for our sex life? It's a lot to think about. I love Bill. Bill gave me my first B, but I love this. Bill gives me A's on my report cards and letters to my parents. The grades on these papers are just between us. I love that. God, I love Bill so much. What a teacher. I said, I've decided that maybe I want to write when I grow up. I just don't know what I would write. Oh, I love that. Let's see. I'm just going to flip through and look for highlighted things. Oh, this is good. November 12th letter. I love Twinkies. And the reason I'm saying this is because we're all supposed to think of a reason to live. He thinks of Twinkies. Talking about science class, experiment with a mouse. They had a mouse and they put food on one side of the cage, and but they'd electrify the floor, so the mouse had to get the food. He would only walk across so much voltage to get food, but for pleasure, they had somewhere they could give the mouse pleasure at the other end of the cage. He would walk across anything, to get to it. I love what Charlie says here. He goes, I don't know the significance of this, but I find it very interesting. That's how I felt too. That is funny. I like, he's talking about his brother and the kind of girls his brother likes and the kind he likes. And I had to underline this because it talks about hot cocoa. He says Charlie likes girls that wear a lot of sweaters and drink cocoa. They talk about books and kiss in the rain. His brother likes supermodels, and Charlie says, I find them strange. My brother has posters of supermodels and cars and beers like that on his walls in his room. Two totally different brothers. And then just page after page of just life. And it's this kind of writing here. I didn't do a lot of underlining or highlighting or tabbing, but it's where you're living that day-to-day mundane life with him. You're going to school, you're going home, you're hearing the conversations, you're getting invested in him and his family and his life. Charlie asked, do you enjoy holidays with your family? I don't mean I said that wrong. I don't mean your mom and dad family, but your uncles and aunts and cousin family. Personally, I do. There are several reasons for this. First, I'm very interested and fascinated by how everyone loves each other, but no one really likes each other. Second, the fights are always the same. They usually start when my mom's dad, my grandfather, finishes his third drink. And it's around this time he starts to talk a lot. My grandfather usually just complains about black people. You got these people, these old people in your family, complain about black people moving into the old neighborhood. Then my sister gets upset at him, and then my grandfather tells her that she doesn't know what she's talking about because she lives in the suburbs. And then he says how no one visits him. And finally, he starts talking about all the family secrets, right? I had one of these in my family. Start just like bringing out everyone's dirty laundry. Couldn't understand why everyone's upset and don't like them. Like how cousin so-and-so got knocked up with that waitress from the Big Boy. I should probably mention that my grandfather can't hear well, so he says everything really loud. My sister tries to fight him but never wins. My grandfather is definitely more stubborn than she is. My mom usually helps her aunt prepare the food, which my grandfather always says is too dry, even if it's soup. As I'm reading this, I'm picturing these different people in my family that drive me mad. You like that? And then her aunt will then cry and lock herself in the bathroom. There's only one bathroom in my great aunt's house, so this turns to trouble when all the beers start to hit my cousins. At all of our family functions, all us cousins drink beer, go in the garage, throw darts, just hang out. So it's just, as you're reading about Charlie and his family, at least for me, it really is close to me and my family. And I think this is how this sneaky author is getting us invested by using memories, right? Making us put ourselves in Charlie's shoes. I should probably mention that my dad usually just sits real quiet and drinks. My dad is not a big drinker at all, but when he has to spend time with my mom's family, he gets loaded. Oh my gosh. He doesn't like my grandfather very much, but he keeps quiet about it, even on the ride home. He just doesn't think it's his place. That's probably a good idea. I've also been in that situation, and it does no good to point out your spouse's family's flaws. It usually just pisses them off, and they get mad at you. They have somewhere now to focus all that anger that they wanted to blast everyone else with. Oh, boy. I thought this was funny. Whoever's the least pissed off at Grandpa gets to take him home. Ay, ay, ay. Which he said is usually his brother. His brother can put up with him as long as he don't talk about his mom, right? Oh, let's see. And now on the car ride home, we get to hear the grandpa. He's drunk. He's talking. When we get to see into the heart and head of Grandpa, why he's such a son of a bitch. And he talks about, he told us when he was 16, he had to leave school because his dad died. Someone had to support the family. He talked about the time when he had to go to the mill 3 times a day to see if there's any work for him. He talked about how cold it was. He talked about how hungry he was because he made sure everyone else in the family ate before him. You're just starting to feel for him, and he fucks it up. He talks about now his daughters, your mom, Aunt Helen. I know how they feel about me. He talks about one time he went to the mill and there was no work and he got pissed off. And he came home and his wife showed him the C+ report card for his daughters. Not a bad grade, but he went in there and beat the shit out of them. Told him, you can do better. I don't want to see this again. I want A's. Right? They just thought he was mean. In his mind, he says, he was doing it because he just didn't want them to ever have to go hungry or go to the mill and not have work. But also, he's just pissed, right? Got to take it out on someone. Took it on the kids. I like how Charlie just really looked into that. And he could see it from both sides. He didn't really judge. Would it have been better to have a happy family life, not scar your children because you're scared that they might end up like you? I think he knew, but he's got a good heart. It's not the way to do it. Let's see here. So here they are. He's at the big table at Thanksgiving. They're watching their brother play football, and nobody's fighting because everyone's so excited to see him on TV. Even Grandpa gets a little moved, I think, because he sees down his family line that there's hope for the family, a better life. Here, them is on TV playing football in college. Pretty cool. The Secret Santa. That was a sweet part of the book. And I love how much thought Charlie put into Patrick's gifts. And first he made him a mixtape that took him all night. Said, I spent all night working on it. I hope when he listens to it that he doesn't feel alone, that he belongs to something. Something to make him not feel sad and alone. That's what his mindset is putting this together. So sweet. I had an amazing feeling when I finally held the tape in my hand. I just thought to myself that in the palm of my hand there was this one tape that had all of these memories and feelings, great joy and sadness right there in the palm of my hand. And I thought about how many people have loved those songs and how many people got through a lot of bad times because of those songs. And how many people enjoyed good times with those songs and how much those songs really mean. I think it would be great to have written one of those songs. I bet if I wrote one of them, I would be very proud. I hope the people who wrote those songs are happy. I hope that they feel it's enough. I really do, because it made me happy and I'm only one person. I think that's beautiful that this is being portrayed, this thought, through Charlie, but I really feel like this is probably our author here, Stefan Chbosky. Am I saying that right? I feel that's how he probably feels about his little treasure right here. Perks of being a wallflower. Should be proud of it. All the people that it's meant something to, that touched their lives in a good way. Hope you feel it's enough. I almost feel like the author's maybe talking to himself here. I don't know, as immature as Charlie is in this book, if he thinks those big thoughts like that. And obviously, you always see authors in the protagonist of the stories. Let's see, his next book he reads, The Great Gatsby. Oh, I love The Great Gatsby. We've done a video on that, haven't we? Oh, let's flip ahead here. Just more living. And you know, it's a lot, but you're never bored. I mean, this is one of those books I couldn't put down. I've already read through it once and I'm going through it again now. Let's see. Oh, so the gifts, the Secret Santas, they dressed him in a suit. So sweet. They got it at a secondhand store. They got him a typewriter. They're helping him to step into his dream of being a writer. And I love that they thought of the first thing you want to do is visualize yourself as a writer. And you know what? The old writers, they wore suits. So they got Charlie a suit and a tie. They got him a typewriter. Right? I think that's beautiful. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? Start getting in that headspace. Look like it, think like it, talk like it, act like it. You surround yourself in things like that, writing things, right? Pens and typewriters and papers and books. I love that. Of course, at first he had kind of that imposter syndrome that we all get, right? He hadn't written anything yet, really. But I think that's the start of it. It's beautiful. And to have someone to encourage you, keep you on track, on course. You got this. He read that poem. Oh my God. Did that poem hit you in the chest? My God, my God. And then at the end, when they said it, that one of the kids thought that was, had heard that was someone's suicide note. Oh, so sad. It breaks your heart. I like this part about Charlie talking about Sam, our little Hermione here. He says, I thought about this present from the first time I really saw her. Not met her or saw her for the first time, but when I really saw her. Do you know what I mean? He gave her something so special to him. Gave Sam a 45 record with a Beatles song, something that his Aunt Helen had given him that meant so much to him. And he thought to himself, so that when I met someone one day that I thought was as beautiful as this song, that I would give it to that person. And I didn't mean beautiful on the outside. I meant beautiful in all ways. So I was giving it to Sam, and Sam looked at me soft, and she hugged me. And I closed my eyes because I wanted to know nothing but her arms. And she kissed my cheek and whispered so nobody could hear, "I love you." Oh, right in the feels. She gives him the typewriter with a piece of paper, and she said, "Someday write about me." And the first thing he types in there, "I will." It felt good that those were the first two words that I ever typed on my computer, or on my typewriter, that Sam gave me. The second thing he wrote was, "I love you too." What a good way to start your writing career, Charlie. Beautiful. This part here, it's the kiss. I don't know. It's beautiful. I loved it. I don't know if it's a good idea. So Sam says, "Charlie, have you ever kissed a girl?" He shook his head no. Of course he hasn't. I want to make sure that the first person you kiss loves you, okay? Okay. Yeah, he's down. She wants him, she says, "I know you know that I like Craig. And I know I told you not to think of me that way. I know that we can't be together, but I want you to forget about all those things for a minute, okay? Okay." He's down. Let's go. Let's do this. And she kissed me. It was the kind of kiss that I could never tell my friends about out loud. It was the kind of kiss that made me know I was never so happy in my whole life. It's beautiful. I love that. I love everything about that. But at the same time, I don't think that it might not be a good idea. I think if Craig found out, right? Because I'm talking here as I first read this the first time. I'm thinking about Craig. If he found out, I don't think he'd be jumping up and down excited and thinking what a sweet moment. I think about it, that'd probably be too much for Charlie. Might have had the right idea with "don't think of me like that yet." Because he's going to think about her like that now. Big time, But still, I really like that part of the story. Oh, this part's hard, guys. Charlie's going to a bad place. I can already feel myself going to a bad place that I used to go to after my Aunt Helen was gone. I went to that place. It got so bad that my mom had to take me to a doctor. I was held back a grade, but now I'm trying not to think about it too much because it makes it worse, right? You don't get locked in those loops in your head. You got to stay out and living life and where the people are and dance. It happens very fast. Things start to slip away. He described anxiety so good where I'm like, I'm feeling it. I need to go meditate and do all the things that I teach others to do. Beautiful writing to make you just experience anxiety, and it scares him. He says it almost happened this morning, but I thought of Sam's kiss and it went away. So important. You got to not only just block those bad thoughts, but you got to replace it with good thoughts. And there's some beautiful teaching right here. And if you struggle with that, it's not just getting rid of the bad thoughts and the lies, but it's replacing it with truth and good thoughts and happy thoughts. And Charlie's getting real good at that. I wonder if he learned that from his time spent at the hospital, He uses it later when he has that LSD trip. I didn't know it was an LSD trip till the third part. I thought he was just tripping balls, just losing it. But he took LSD. But he used the same techniques. right? To get out of his head and then think of something good. He started thinking about those Zen, right? About the beauty of that day where the air was warm and the houses and the lawns and the colored trees, right? And he would take a good thought. So you could use that for depression or a bad trip, right? Where so you don't have a bad trip. You keep your thoughts good and happy, and you don't let yourself go to the dark places. And if you start thinking of good things. Very important. He read The Catcher in the Rye. Bill gave him his favorite book when he was Charlie's age, and he read it several times. I love that. I'm like that. If I got a book I like, I read it till the covers fall off. I love Charlie's heart, like he gave his dad for Christmas the last season of MASH, right? Because he remembered they shared that special moment when his dad cried and they kept it their secret. Freaking Charlie. His sense of humor is like mine. When they went to the zoo and, well, I'll just read it. The baby calf was standing right underneath its mother, just kind of walking around, and the mother cow took a dump on the baby calf's head. I thought it was the funniest thing I had seen in the whole world, and I laughed about it for about 3 hours. At first, my mom and Aunt Helen kind of laughed too because they were so happy I was laughing because supposedly when I was young, I didn't talk a lot. But into the third hour, they're trying to make me stop laughing, but it only made me laugh harder. I don't know if it was really 3 hours, but I think that's hilarious. If you thought the funniest thing you'd ever seen in the world was a cow taking a dump on its calf's head, and then he can't stop laughing. So good. So he's spinning, man. He's in those loops, those OCD loops. It's getting worse. He's thinking to himself, oh, I might have to go back to the doctor if I can't stop this. At least he's thinking like that. He knows there's help. And he's already thinking to himself, I might need to go to the doctor. I like that. Good for you, Charlie. Let's see. And then, of course, we get to the LSD part. He thinks of better thoughts. He can... It's kind of dark. He could hear Sam and Craig having sex, and he understood the end of that poem, and he never wanted to. But just so we don't leave on such a dark note, the start of 3, he runs back to send out another letter saying, dude, I was just in a dark place, and I needed to get you this letter, and it was much more positive, and... The sun comes up after the dark, right? And so that was a heavy chapter. All right, I'm going to cut this off because it's getting long. Please go to the comments. Let me know what you think. Make sure you guys hit that like button, comment, so I know you guys are still enjoying book club. And no, I love you guys.